Hello moviegoers, Ezra here. Welcome back to another Ezra review, and today we are going to be reviewing Godzilla X Kong the New Empire, or Godzilla Kong. According to Adam Wingard, that apparently the X is silent. But I just recently watched this movie, because I was a big fan of Monsterverse, and I was excited, to see Godzilla and Kong teaming up, finally. And I think back in Godzilla vs Kong came out, I think everyone was pretty nervous that, oh, like that's the end of the monsterverse, because all of the journey are practically leading up to Godzilla versus Kong, and there is no future plan besides that, and I think they admitted as much, but because Godzilla vs Kong was a success, we got Godzilla X Kong the New Empire, which I'm glad that the franchise are still continuing, and of course, this movie is once again directed by Adam Wingard, which is the only director that has ever returned to direct another MonsterVerse movie. So that's pretty interesting, But I can see why, because I think Adam Wingard has a fun vision for this movie. So we're gonna get to the positive aspect of the movie first, before we get to the negative one, because yeah, this movie is not perfect, I think I have a bit of a mixed feeling, for this movie, but I think because I'm a big fan of Godzilla and Kong, that I think this movie is pretty redeemable for me, So the good part about it, I'm just gonna start with the obvious, because obviously since we're talking about a monster movie, the fight scene, right? The fight scene in this movie are good, they're fun to watch. It's like a live action anime, and for some reason I keep comparing this to like Attack on Titan for some reason, I guess because like the Titan when they were fighting, it's like, yeah, like they're big, they're 15 feet tall, which is not as big as Godzilla and Kong clearly, but they move really fast. And Godzilla and Kong was like what, 300 feet tall, and then they move really fast, especially in this movie. And of course this was not a good news too for the people who actually want like the scaling of the movie, which I get it, because sometimes you kind of like lost the scaling of this movie, that it feels like, oh, like this is just the monster playing in the like in a playground essentially, right? And I think that's probably Adam Wingard vision, to be honest. I think he mentioned something along those lines. So like, yeah, I mean, you can definitely felt that in this movie, but at the same time it makes for a fun fight scene, because if the fight scene was like super realistic, that like the 2014 one, then it's probably not as fun. Even though I love Godzilla 2014, or at least like respect it, I know that it's not perfect, but at the same time I enjoy that movie, and it's really weird that seeing how the MonsterVerse started with Godzilla 2014 and now to this, which is becoming so ridiculous. But I feel like this is not the first time we see Godzilla becoming this fun and ridiculous, because you got the Showa era of the Toho Godzilla, because it starts serious, and then now, or like I guess back in the 80s, Godzilla become comedic in a way. And it's like, yeah, it's not the first time Godzilla becoming super comedic in a way, but at the same time it's not ridiculous, like it's not like super ridiculous to the point that I just like can't help it, but I feel like, no, it's fine, I can actually like suspend my disbelief that, oh, like these monsters are big but they move really fast, so I have no problem. I think that's a pretty fun way to create a fun fight scene, even though that I praised that the fight scene was pretty fun, I also have some negative thoughts about it, which I'm going to talk about that later. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about the human character first, because I think this is probably like one of the best human character ever in the MonsterVerse, which is like not exactly a compliment, because like the MonsterVerse character was never that good to begin with, even though I like Aaron Taylor Johnson in Godzilla 2014, but I must prefer Bryan Cranston as the main character, because I think he's just a much better character with a good motivation. And it sucks that they killed Bryan Cranston off in the first 30 minutes of Godzilla 2014, because he deserved to be the main character, and to this day I'm still wondering if he's actually alive. If they decide to keep Bryan Cranston alive, then we might get to see him more in the MonsterVerse, which we didn't get that, sadly. But anyway, besides him, I feel like this is indeed the best one so far, because like, again, Godzilla King of the Monster, the character sucks. Kong Skull Island, it was fine, I like it, and Godzilla vs Kong, like it's kind of like whatever, I like Gia, the little girl played by Kaylee Hottel. This is great. So in this movie we have four characters essentially that I think was pretty cool, because I think they have a great chemistry together. Which obviously the first one is Dr. Eileen Andrews, played by Rebecca Hall, and then you got Bernie Hayes, played by Brian Tyree Henry, returning from Godzilla vs Kong, and then you got a character named Trapper, played by Dan Stevens. And let me tell you guys, Dan Stevens is the best in this movie, because I think he has such a blast playing this character named Trapper, and I think him and Brian Tyree Henry has a lot of great chemistry, and I think there's a lot of funny moment between the two of them, and I really really like that a lot, And Dr. Island is like okay, she's okay, she's not bad, and of course Gia is returning, so Kelly Hunter is back playing Gia, so I think again she's good, and you also got Fala Chun in this movie, but she doesn't say much to say the least. She's just there, so okay, that's probably a waste of talent, but at the same time, okay, all right, I guess that's what they were going with. So yeah, the human character is pretty fun. They've keep focusing on these four characters. So like these are the four character, the human character that we are following. So I think that's a great combination because they are fun. They're not boring to watch. And yes, I guess to some people maybe the comedy wasn't landing that well, because I didn't really like Brian Tyree Henry's character in Godzilla versus Kong, but I guess it's because back in the day I didn't know what to expect from his character, but now because I already know that okay, his character is gonna be comedic and super ridiculous, then yeah, that's what I was expecting, and I'm getting that. And I think Brian Tyree Henry is funny in this one, and I think Dan Stevens is the best human character ever, to be honest, because he has such a blast, man, playing this role. It's so much fun that you can't help but smile every single time you see him, so that's great. And of course, I like the score as well by Tom Hockenborg and Antonio Di Lorio, I think, which is an Italian composer. It was pretty good, even though I think Bear McCreary, I think that's his name, from Godzilla King of the Monster. I think his score is still the best score ever. And I guess in that movie they have like the classic Toho monster, right? So that's really helped as well. But at the same time, I like the score by Tom Hockenborg and Antonio Di Lorio as well. I don't know if this was the best Monsterverse score. I don't think so, but I guess people might like it. Who knows? So yeah, and of course the VFX, because it's a Titan, it's a kaiju movie, so yeah, the VFX are good, because there is several scenes where you are completely focusing on Kong and Godzilla, and mostly on Kong. So this is like a King Kong movie, just like Godzilla vs. Kong is actually a Kong movie at its heart, so yeah, it makes sense, and I think the VFX every single time we are focusing on this monster is actually looking great. So I like that a lot, and of course, Kong is obviously going to be the main character because, well, he's the Titan that we can actually relate to because he's a giant monkey, and monkey does exist in our world. So, like, yeah, I think it's pretty easy to characterize King Kong, but it's probably pretty hard for them to characterize Godzilla, which, yeah, I can see that. And of course, like, Toho has several rules as well, so all right. So that's a positive part, the fight scenes are fun, the VFX are good, the human characters are good this time around. I think for me personally, they were pretty fun, especially again, Dan Stevens are the best in this movie. So I think that's a huge plus for me, because they're not annoying or boring, even though again, some people might find the jokes a bit boring, which I think that might happen, but I guess we'll see about that. But so far it's like, yeah, they're pretty good, they're not bad. However, there is some criticism about this movie, is obviously because the story was like, yeah, the story, if you like just like don't really think too much about it, then yeah, it kind of makes sense. However, if you actually like really starting to think the whole story for Godzilla and Kong, then yeah, I think there is some plot point that probably doesn't make any sense, or like, oh, that's a huge coincidence or something like that, right? So yeah, the plot is not the best, but at the same time, it's also not that bad, I guess, as long as you're not thinking too much of it and just accept what it is. And second of all, I think here's the thing, we already see like 2 King Kong movies already, or I guess 3, right, in the Monsterverse. I'm really wishing that in the next one we could get to see like Godzilla being the main character, because like we got King Kong twice, man, by Adam Wingard. I know that 3 times counting Kong Skull Island, I know, but I'm counting the Adam Wingard version here, even though it's the same version, I know, but like this is the first time I think where we see, or like the third time we see King Kong getting so much character, and I feel like, okay, that's good enough, because I like Kong, I really do. However, it's been done twice. Adam Wingard has been doing this twice, so I'm really hoping if he does a third movie, which I think he's going to do that, I'm really hoping the next one they make Godzilla the main character and try to find a way for us, the audience, to relate to Godzilla. Because here's the thing, I think a lot of people are loving Godzilla because he's really cool. And in Japan, like, he has a cool history about like nuclear and something like that, right? So that's really cool history with the character. However, I feel like as a character, we don't exactly relate to him. I know that we don't need to because he's a monster. We don't need to. He just there being cool. However, since King Kong got the treatment where, oh, we can actually relate to King Kong, we can actually care for him even though he's a giant monkey, you know, like we care for Kong. So I'm really hoping that Godzilla received the same treatment by saying that, oh, like he can actually show emotion, you know, like actually show that, yeah, we can actually relate to Godzilla in some way. And that's obviously gonna be a challenge, you know, because obviously Godzilla is a bit out there, you know, like the monsters are a bit out there, and clearly that he cares about humanity. They make that clear in this movie. However, he's not the kind of Titan that we can actually like relate to or like build a bond to, you know, unlike Kong. So I'm really hoping that Godzilla received the same treatment in the third movie, because like Kong already has like 2 movies by Adam Wingard. So like, come on, man, give Godzilla, my man, a chance to become the main character and let Kong just like enjoy his new empire. You know, just let him in a hollow earth, just let him do, I don't know, whatever, except until Godzilla call him to like, hey, help me fight this thing, you know, or something like that. You know, reverse the role in the future movie. That's what I wanted, you know. And speaking of the monster, I guess we gotta talk about Scar King and Shimo as well, you know, because I think here's the thing. Scar King, I like it that they actually tried to give Scar King some personality here. However, I think he doesn't get enough screen time in my opinion, because he doesn't appear in this movie until like halfway through, to the point I'm just like, oh yeah, like Scar King, like you're here, you know. And I feel like when he was appearing, I was like, okay, this is interesting, you know, because they tried to give Scar King some smug personality, you know, against Kong. So I think that's really cool, you know, because Kong is like a wise creature in a way, right? And I think Kong chemistry with the mini Kong, or I guess Zuko, that's the mini Kong's name, or like son of Kong name, you know. Like I think the chemistry between him and the mini Kong is actually really cool, because it reminds me of God of War, where Kratos is like, say, like caring for Atreus, you know, boy, right? Like there is even a point where Kong like lifting an axe and it's like, oh, that's just Kratos right there. Like, what the hell, man? Okay, I mean, that's a cool comparison, you know, to the recent God of War games, you know. But anyway, returning to Scar King here, I feel like, again, he doesn't have enough screen time, to the point that it's not enough for us to actually believe that, oh, these guys are actually evil and actually dangerous, you know, because he doesn't feel like that. Like when he was first introduced, that, yeah, they tried to build him up to be this dangerous Titan for Kong. But at the same time, because again, he didn't receive enough screen time, we didn't exactly feel the presence of Scar King, you know, because like even though the filmmaker decided to give Scar King some personality, which I think that's pretty cool, it's not enough for making me love the guy, or I guess like, you know, scared of Scar King, you know. And it's just like, okay, like I guess you're just like a giant ape that super angry and controlling this another giant lizard named Shimo, you know. And yeah, speaking of Shimo, she's cool. You know, no pun intended, but like she's cool, you know. But I gotta be honest, no spoilers here, but I was not expecting them to handle Shimo that way in the movie, and I was like, oh, that's kind of disappointing, you know, because I want to see more of her, and I feel like Godzilla and her is gonna have an epic battle, and they do have a battle in the final in the movie, but here's the thing, it's not enough, and I don't really like the direction they were going with Shimo here, which I understand why they decided to make that decision by the end of the movie, you know, because this is a new kaiju, so I get it. But at the same time, I kind of wish that they go with a different direction between Scar King and Shimo, you know, because the direction they were going with, I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. However, it led to the final fight that was like, I wanted more, man. Like, this could have been way more, you know, it could have been way more fight scene in the end if they decide to handle Scar King and Shimo differently, you know, but they don't. And I'm just like, man, that's kind of disappointing, because like the fight is no longer about defeating them, but it's about aftering this one item later on in the real fight. And I'm just like, okay, well, that's kind of disappointing, man, because I want more, and I feel there is a potential to be more. However, the way they handle the two of them are just not that good in my opinion. You know, they just kind of there, and they don't really feel scary or threatening to Kong or Godzilla, you know. So I don't know, man. I think Shimo is pretty cool. Again, no pun intended, but she's cool. She's really cool. But I wish there was more to her, and I was wishing that they could handle Shimo very differently in the movie, you know. But they don't, and that's like the sad part about it, you know. So like, okay, I guess, all right, that's the direction they were going with. Okay, cool. And of course, Godzilla and Kong has some rematch in the Egypt, we know, and I wonder who's gonna win, you know. So watch your movie for yourself, guys. I think that's pretty pretty fun, you know, to reignite some debate there in a way. But either way, that's my review for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Guys, again, it's a fun monsterverse movie, but I think the fight scene could have been way more, because like there is several fight scene in this movie, but I feel like they were too short. You know, so they don't really stick with you. Even in the final battle, I was like, oh, the movie's building towards that, which it does. However, I was expecting more, because the battle was so much fun, and I feel like it doesn't last long enough, in my opinion. And again, like I said before, if they decide to handle Scar King and Shimura relationship a bit differently, then I think the battle could be way more intense than it is. But they decide to go to like a different direction, so like it doesn't last very long, and it's just like, okay, it's just over. Okay, cool, you know. So yeah, I wish the fight scene was a bit longer, and I wish the enemy was a bit more terrifying, or like way more threatening to Kong, but he didn't, man. I know. I guess good luck for trying, but also not really that good in my opinion. So yeah, hoping in the next movie Godzilla could become the main character, and I'm really hoping that they decide to bring a Toho monster from the past, you know, like maybe there's a Troya or Space Godzilla that would be really cool, or Gigan or Biolante, right? Like there is so many monsters that you could bring back from the classic Toho Godzilla movie. So just bring them back, man, because I feel like that's what people wanted. And I know that there is some rights problem with Toho, but I feel like it really works it, because look at Godzilla King of the Monster. Like that movie wasn't that good. However, what makes this movie so special? Well, the classic Toho monster, they appear. King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, right? Those three appear, so like, oh, that's like the main draw for us, the Monsterverse fan, to liking Godzilla King of the Monster. If they just have original monster, then I don't think King of the Monster is gonna be as beloved as it is by the Monsterverse fan, because the human character in this movie suck, man, really do. So I'm really hoping in the future Godzilla X Kong movie, because I'm pretty sure there is more. I'm really hoping they decide to bring back the old Toho monster. Whatever it was, I'm hoping they bring that back, you know, because I think it's gonna bring a lot of people to watch the movie again and make Godzilla the main character, man. Because like I think Kong has enough spot for himself here, so give my man Godzilla some spot, man. Make him the main character in the next movie, you know, and Kong be the second character, you know, like switch place. You know, that's my wish. But anyway, guys, that's my review for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Let me know in the comment section below, guys. Do you guys actually love Godzilla X Kong, or do you guys think that it was kind of disappointing? You know, so let me know your opinions in the comment section below. And also, let me know, like, what are you guys expecting from the next Godzilla X Kong movie? Like, do you guys agree that they should just bring back the old Toho monster for the next Godzilla movie? I think they should do that, in my opinion, you know. But who knows? Maybe you guys have a different opinions for what they should go in the future, you know. Maybe you guys still want Kong to be the main character instead of Godzilla. So yeah, let me know all your opinions in the comment section below, guys, because I would love to hear about them. And if you guys enjoyed this review, then make sure, guys, you know, atomic breath that subscribe and like button, you know, and stay tuned for more reviews in the future, guys. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.